The next time something about another person bothers you deeply, do not look away from that feeling. Look directly into it, because what you find there will tell you far more about yourself than it will ever tell you about them. There is a type of discomfort that arrives in the body when we witness someone doing something we disapprove of. Something tightens, something rises, and we call it judgment, but we rarely stop to ask where it actually came from. We aim it outward like it belongs out there, like the problem is entirely theirs to carry. But judgment does not originate in the person you are watching. It originates in you. And the reason it burns the way it does is because it is touching something old and buried, something you decided a long time ago was not allowed. When something in someone else provokes a strong reaction, it is almost never neutral observation. Neutral observation does not carry that weight. Neutral observation does not linger in the chest after the person has left the room. What lingers is recognition. A recognition that some part of you, some version of you, either lives that way in secret or desperately wanted to and was told that it could not. Think about the things that genuinely irritate you in other people, not mild annoyances, the ones that feel almost personal, the person who takes up too much space in a conversation, the one who seems too comfortable asking for what they need, the one who does not apologize the way you think they should, the one who lets themselves be seen in ways that feel reckless to you. Now ask yourself an honest question. What did you learn about those behaviors when you were young? What happened when you occupied space, or asked for things, or refused to shrink? Because somewhere along the way, you received a message. Maybe it was spoken directly. Maybe it arrived through silence or through consequence. But that message told you that certain parts of yourself were too much, too loud, too needy, too selfish, too free. And you did what any intelligent person would do in that situation. You buried those parts. You locked them somewhere and built a life that did not require accessing them. And then you met someone who had not received that message, or who had received it and decided not to obey it. And something in you could not look away. This is the psychology of projection, but it is older and more honest than that clinical word suggests. It is closer to grief, because when you judge someone for being free, in a way you have not allowed yourself to be free, you are not actually angry at them. You are mourning something in yourself that never got to breathe. You are standing at a door you closed years ago and watching someone else walk through it like it was never locked. And instead of sitting with that grief, which would require looking inward, the mind converts it into criticism. It is easier to say they are wrong than to say I was not allowed. And here is where this becomes quietly devastating. The longer you carry these suppressed pieces of yourself, the louder the judgment becomes. The parts of you that never got to be expressed do not simply go silent over time. They ask to be seen through whatever opening they can find. And one of the most available openings is reaction. The parts of you that were shamed become the very parts you shame most loudly in others, not because you are hypocritical, because you are human, because the psyche looks for resolution, and when it cannot find it through acceptance, it reaches for it through judgment. So the mirror works in both directions. When you judge someone for their arrogance, ask what you were taught would happen if you ever believed in yourself too openly. When you judge someone for their mess, ask what kind of order was demanded of you when you were too young to deserve that pressure. When you judge someone for being too emotional, ask how many times your own feelings were treated like inconveniences that needed to be managed rather than truths that needed to be heard. You will find something waiting in each of those questions. Something real, something that has been sitting quietly in the dark for a long time, not because it was dangerous, but because you were told it was. And the moment you stop pointing outward long enough to feel that, something shifts. The judgment does not disappear, but it loses its charge. It becomes information instead of verdict. It becomes a signal rather than a sentence. This does not mean every critical thought is secretly about you. Discernment is real. The ability to recognize harmful behavior in others is necessary and important, but there is a texture to genuine discernment that is different from the texture of triggered judgment. Discernment is clear and calm. It does not need the other person to change in order for you to feel okay. Triggered judgment is urgent. It needs to be right. It needs the other person to be wrong. And that urgency is the clue. The next time you feel that urgency rising, try this. Instead of following the thought outward, follow the feeling inward. Ask yourself what part of you that reaction is protecting. Ask what that part was never allowed to be. And then, if you can, stay with that question long enough to hear an honest answer. Because your judgment is not your enemy. It is your mirror. And a mirror, when you finally stop avoiding it, shows you exactly what you need to see.